If you'd asked that question a year ago, I would have said, we would be looking at enhancing programs to improve dropout rates, enhancing programs for 21st century skill development, enhancing pretty much any area in public education. But with the funding situations that we're now faced with, we're actually looking at cutting programs instead of adding programs.
Where is education falling in the pecking order, and does it concern you?
Well, absolutely, Paul. I think that education is frankly the most important issue we face, because when you talk about all these other issues, wherever the public is educated, you have less of those issues that you need to be concerned about.
The Race to the Top is a competitive grant. That means not everyone will get funding. All 50 states are entitled to apply for the grant. They have to get letters of support from their school districts.
So it has to do with four things, and we'll go through them again. Standards and assessment, data, great teachers and great leaders, and turning around low-performing schools.
And so with the financial situation that the state finds itself in, any additional funding that we can garner from Race to the Top will be welcomed.
However, an issue that I have with it is that it is tied to test scores, which automatically eliminates teachers who teach the arts, physical education teachers, foreign language teachers, and a lot of great teachers who would deserve higher pay with merit pay who are not eligible because it's tied directly to test scores.
So if there was an opportunity to lengthen the timeline and then improve the opportunity for communication, I would say that's how it could be improved.
Well, let's talk about what No Child Left Behind did. Is it put accountability into our educational system? Okay, and that's a positive thing.
And every year the bar was raised in relationship to what those benchmarks look like. And then there are subcategories for all schools regardless of where they are in relationship to various socioeconomic and diversity issues that you have to meet in each one of those categories.
Are there things about No Child Left Behind that need to be changed? And there's no question. We will need to address how we assess children who are in our schools who do not speak English as a first language. We will need to address how we assess students with special needs in the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind. We will also need to look at how our accountability, our state's accountability model, can more seamlessly fit into No Child Left Behind.
I'd say that has been the greatest challenge for schools, to make sure that each one of those subcategories are being met, because you have to meet all of them in order to attain what they call annual yearly progress.
And again, I think what they need to do is put more experienced educators on the educational roundtables, on the committees that come up with the laws, because they need people who are experienced in the classroom and know what the needs are, know what realistic goals are, to be able to come up with policy that will actually work and will actually improve schools.
So I think up to a point where they said those benchmarks were going to be, were good, but they continue to raise the standards, and I think that all schools, regardless of where they are, will reach a plateau.
So while I am a strong supporter of No Child Left Behind, or how we now refer to it as ESEA, or the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, I do agree that we need to address some areas so that we kind of bridge some gaps, fill some holes, and make it a stronger accountability measure for schools.
In the state of Indiana, greater than 50% of our state budget goes toward education.
This is the tough discussion, because one of the things we have to do is we have to address what our core mission is in education.
Right now, I think that with our financial situation allowing us the opportunity to raise money and then use that money where we feel like it's most effective would be one of the greater things I can see right now legislatively.
So also, we've got to give them the tools. And so we're going to continue to focus to make sure that we have strong technology in all of our schools, not just the schools that are the rich districts, but way out in the rural areas.
But there are a number of initiatives underway nationally. There are a lot of market-based or market-driven reforms being experimented with nationally, including charter schools, virtual education, and a number of different approaches. Alternative certification for teachers is included in that market reform effort.
Advantaged students, students whose parents have means, get to go home and play on computers and work on computers at night. Disadvantaged students only get that amount of instruction that they get at school.
Service learning, athletics, and other classroom situations. So I think they're all important. Now, with that being said, with the financial situation that all schools throughout the nation are finding themselves in, unfortunately, I think some of those things are really going to be crimped and maybe eliminated in some cases.
All of those areas, the electives, the courses that you mentioned, the extracurricular activities are essential for a broad liberal education.
So even though I think they're extremely important, I think the financial situation is really going to contribute negatively to the opportunities to provide those.
Well, now, students your age are competing with not only kids from Newcastle to New Albany, but you're also competing with kids from New York to New Delhi.
I think there'll be a continued move toward making sure our students are strong in the math and sciences. But I want to make sure that we don't sacrifice creative thinking.
So I think education as a concept, as a profession, as a process will be much more competitive.
Education is the fundamental pillar of our society.
And in order to make and enable schools to address that competitive nature, we're going to have to give schools freedom.